All right. Waiting for this to come up. There we go. Alrighty. No, actually, it's not dark in my studio. I just have so much light right here in the front. The camera perceives it as being dark. It's not. In fact, it's actually pretty light in here. So, okay. Well, we are ready to start embellishing on the Advent Tower. We're going to do the lid real quick first, and then we're going to do the little cabin that goes on top. And we're going to do something a little bit different on this version. Now, I was originally talking about maybe doing it as a gingerbread house, but I came up with something I think that I like better with how this is all going to embellish. And we're going to turn it into a little church that goes on the top. Now, this one's going to still have a little bit of a rustic flavor, not quite as much as the original one, which I forgot to grab, and I'll grab it when we get ready to get started. So it's still going to have that little bit. Now, I'm going to be using, I've supplemented to it, but the paper that I'm going to use for the album for this one is one called Frosty Christmas from a couple years ago. It was of one of my papers from a couple years ago. We used it on the train. So some of you may have that one. But I've added to it for what we're doing for today. And I'll be adding more to it for doing the album and stuff. I'll be adding some, excuse me, some journal card and some other embellishments, tags, and that sort of thing that people can purchase to supplement along with that paper collection, and that's for this version. There's a whole other paper collection that I showed a little bit of last time that is used for the version, the sample version, the first one that we did, that I showed you on Friday. You see something else? No, actually, this right here is not outside the window. That actually is, I have fairy lights up in my studio over my desk area. I just like the kind of, it gives it kind of a cool vibe when it starts, that I enjoy having them up. So that's what you're seeing is, this is just a reflection in the window, and that's my camera right there. So if that's what you're seeing, Joy, that's what it is. It's just that reflection. So, excuse me. Now, I had to stop today for a little bit to get the Christmas tree up and stuff. So I don't have all of my drawers made, but I have enough that we can at least get one of them done to show how I want to do those. So does anybody have any questions at all? As I said, the paper from the sample that I showed on Friday, that is available for the Advent Tower itself is available. The paper for the album and the tutorial for the album will be coming up. The paper for the version that I'm doing today in class for just the tower is available in the website as well. And I will be doing additional items that people can add to the Frosty Christmas paper and I'll show you that here when I switch cameras, that I had from a couple of years ago. So does anybody have any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to switch cameras. I'm going to grab the other sample, and we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, put this back. And let me go grab the samples. Okay, so what we're going to start with, actually I can just take this part off. What we're going to actually start with here is we're going to make the lid, and I also want to make, show how to make the little cabin. And as I said, I'm going to be making it into a little church, and I'm going to show you how we're going to put a little steeple on top as well. So first off, I want to show you the papers for what I'm going to be using on today's version. Now this is the Frosty Christmas paper collection. It had kind of some pastel colored poinsettias and stuff that are on it, and some neutrals in lights and darks. And so rather than, because putting together two entire Christmas collections quickly is not really doable. So I decided, well, I'm just going to add to this one. So I've added papers here, and I'm going to add some more cut aparts, tags, journal cards, and also for some signature papers and covers, as we had talked about, excuse me, at the last time. So anyway, just to give everybody a reminder, and this one is available in the shop already. So these are the cut aparts that I've added for what we're going to be embellishing today. This is some of the poinsettias and stuff that are on here, and a lantern and a candle piece. And then for the little church, here's the windows and a door, and these are different than the ones that I used on the on this version. It's got the same side lights, but it's a different door. So then the papers, this is what I'm going to be using on the roof. This is what I'm going to use for the cabin itself, or the church. And then these are some neutrals. Oops, I printed out multiples. Some neutrals that I'm going to use for the body. One's kind of a neutral, kind of grayish tone, and one's a greenish tone. And then there's a kind of a washed out red, which goes well with the colors of the poinsettias. And then a stripe, which I'm going to use in place of the dark wood. And if you prefer the other papers, you can use that one as well. So anyway, these are the papers that, and these are new. These are not part of that. They are not part of this collection. So these are 6 new papers that coordinate with this collection. These are all printed on just cardstock. You could also print them on paper if you prefer that kind of weight, but I print them all on cardstock. So to do the actual lid, because I got this guy all assembled together. This is hard to show when my camera's down pretty low. So it's got the little shelves in the ends and little shelves on the front and back. Now on the for the lid, what you're going to do is you're going to mark a line 1/4 inch from one edge on all the different sides. And you're going to then place, you're going to put some construction strips along that line, with the tab of it going towards the narrower side, the 1/4 inch side. And because these are made from 3/4 inch strips, we're going to have to trim some off, which is fine. I do want to attach all my pieces all together with construction strips. So before I put that last piece on there, I excuse me, I had to put that corner down. So you want to put, because these strips will go over the corner pieces, so you want to get your corner pieces on there. First. Alright, so then I have to go in, like I said, and trim, because the strips are 3/8 of an inch on each side, because they're made from 3/4 inch strips, and the line is only 1/4 inch from it, so I got to trim this excess off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and attach this piece on there so then I can get those corners done, but I want this corner to be on there first. So I just need those little pieces there at the corners. Oh, nobody's teacher's pet. Teacher's pet is my cats and dogs. I'm just going to trim these guys off this way. Because they're short. I don't have to go this long. Alright, got that excess off there. Alright, so then we've got our strips down, and I'm going to just take that off of like one, I'll cut this little corner off, but that's okay. I'm just going to take it off of one end to start with. Actually, I can take it off of all. And then I'm going to take my lid. This just slips down inside. Runs into those. Make sure everything's snug on the sides. And then I can attach this stuff down. So that forms the lid. It's got a little ledge on the bottom, ledge here on the top, and then this can just set on top. So it sets on top like so. That makes sense? Alright, so now we truly are ready to embellish the project because the chipboard portion is now completely done, other than I've got one drawer and I need 24 of them. So anyway, all right. So for our little church that we're making, and it's exactly the same as to how we make the house. All I'm adding on top of it is the steeple. So, and I will add a sheet to the Advent tower. I will add a sheet to that pattern. It'll have a little R next to the file name, which means that it's been uploaded. It may not get up till tomorrow, but I'll add that on this guy. The dimensions for adding the steeple, because even on the more rustic version, you can obviously add a steeple to it. All right, so on the little bit larger pieces that are the ends of the cabin / church, you're going to mark a point in the center top. And then you can use your side pieces to measure up along the sides. So I do give you a dimension, but you can just use these guys to measure that. And then we're going to cut it from point to point and then point to point. So that gives me my two ends and my two sides. So we're going to attach those pieces all together with construction strips. I only got two long ones left, so I'm going to use some of these little pieces. I'm just going to put these guys all on each of the side corners, each of the corners, I should say, not just side corners. Alright, so now then I'm going to go ahead and add some strips to the roof parts so that, and it's easier to do it while it's still flat, so we're going to do it right now. Okay, this is my last strip. I got to cut more. So I'm being super, super miserly. Now I cut it at a pretty sharp angle for up at the point or peak of the roof. Well, but one thing nice, Joey, is even if you don't have like Joann's or Michael's or big box stores like that in your state or area, you can order online from them. That's why I went ahead and did it the way I did it, so that people could access stuff like that. I mean, you can even find it like Walmart and places like that have a lot of the Christmas decoration type stuff like what I used. So it's not hard to find, even if you don't have Joann's and Michael's in your area. I found some stuff at Target. There's any number, even a dollar store would have these kinds of things. Or using an old Christmas wreath. Exactly. Anything that you've got around, so. Alright, so there we've got the main shape. Then you have your roof that you're going to score in half, fold it. Yeah, these are exactly the same as the red ones. He just changed the color, so now they're black instead of red. And I'm pleased to note I had to go out and buy a new pair because I couldn't find the other pair I had. Well, I now have two. They suddenly showed up in my bathroom. They weren't there the other day. So, Interesting. So then our roof is going to attach on, and you're going to want to center it. Yeah, all of his scissors change from red to black. You know, so you if you want the latest and greatest, you have to buy new. I mean, it's marketing 101. So you have approximately a ½ inch. I'm just eyeballing it, but you could measure it if you wanted to. Biggest thing is you just want to make sure you're not squeezing or spreading out the top of it. You want it nice and even. Yeah, they've been that way for a couple years. They've been black for a couple years now. I think he switched it out like 2 seasons ago. Alright, so then this is going to fold that way. And there we go. They're exactly the same, Pam, as the red ones. They're just a different color. Only difference. Nothing has changed. He just made the handles black instead of red. Alright, so we're going to cut some little pieces that are going to then sit on top of the roof to make a little steeple type area. Well, my red ones were just beaten up and dead, and because I cut everything known to man under them, so I had to buy some black ones. And I've had those black ones for probably 1.5 years, and then I lost them last week, and they've now reappeared. All right. So similar to what we did on the to make the end pieces, this angle is actually the same exact angle. So once these are cut, before you turn it into the house, you can actually use this, but it's just as easy to mark the center, and you come up 3/4 of an inch on each side and cut. And then you're going to go from these corners and directly below this one to where this is a 3/8 inch. You'll mark that. Again, I'll have a sheet that gives you all these dimensions. And you'll cut that out so it makes this V shape. And you're going to have 2 of those. So you're going to have your 2 little side panels as well that are the sides that are going to go along this roof. So we're going to attach those guys together with our construction strips. And I'm going to angle one end of these, because the other one we're going to trim it when it's actually attached. Actually, no, I'm going to do both ends. Do it shallow, and then we'll just need to trim one side of them. So, but don't do super steep on the one end. Well, you can use other scissors if you don't like the serrated, though, Pam. So. But the serrated is how it's able to cut through things like the chipboard, etc., like that. If they weren't, they wouldn't cut through that stuff as easily. And lining up a point. All right, so this is where then we've got to trim away the excess here. go with that angle. It's kind of like a little house, but with an angle out of it, and it should fit just right on top. Same with our roof on the church itself, or the cabin. And this part is just for the church version. The cabin version, you're complete at this point. So we're going to fold this in half. And this is going to go on top of here. Like so. They're serrated no matter how you turn them. It's got a serrated edge on it, Margaret. So only one of the blades is serrated, so it's going to cut serrated. No matter which way you turn it, it's going to cut serrated because one of the blades, the blade that has his name on it has a serrated edge. The blade that doesn't is smooth. But you need both to cut, so it's going to cut serrated no matter what you do. But it's such a fine serration. So unless you're working on something super fine, you're not going to really notice it. And I should have put these on when it was still flat, but I didn't, so. Well, there's no way for it not to be serrated when one of the blades has got a serration. I mean, it sounds cool, but it doesn't work that way, so. I love the big shears. I've got a pair of the big shears as well. They're still red. And the little ones. But the big ones for on my fabric stuff, I love them. Tonic scissors are great scissors. Tim doesn't necessarily design them. They're just his name's on them. All right. So then we're going to tack this. All right, so there's approximately just, around a 1/4 inch on this one, where there was a 1/2 inch on the other one. So I went a little wide, so it's only 1/8 of an inch on one side, and it's a fat 1/4 inch on one side. So, and that's fine. All right. Just fold this, and as long as you're consistent, it doesn't much matter. So there's a little steeple piece. And because we can't really get up underneath there, we're going to need to glue that on. But that's going to give me, and I'm going to line it up so where it's about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch back from the front. But I'm not going to attach this on until I put my roof paper on first. But that's going to give us kind of, and then You can put a little cross up here or maybe a little star or something. But it looks, now it's turned our cabin into looking a little bit more like a little church that's in the woods. The woodland chapel, so to speak. So then for the base of it, we're going to score the pocket sides, or not the pocket sides, the box sides. And just like we did with the drawers, I'm going to trim, except I just go around each of the four corners. And as long as there's a tab at each of the four corners, it doesn't really matter which side it's on. This gives you a little box for on the top for your 25th little treat. But yeah, as I was working on this one, in terms of the embellishments, I originally, like I said, I had planned that it was going to have like a fireplace or something on one side. But it was just, and doing the gingerbread house, and it was like going, it's just not going to be as cool. It just needs more foof and stuff for it. You know, I like all the foofy stuff. So this one's going to be more florally, but still have that kind of woodland kind of feel, because this just is lending itself to that. Or at least that's where my brain is right now. Because it was just becoming too, it was just becoming, well, plain is not the right word, but it just didn't have as much the stuff that made it look really cool, like by doing, you know, a fireplace and all that kind of stuff. So, but obviously you could do any kind of scene you want to. So, but this one I think I'm going to take over to my mom to have in her her room over where she's at, so that then she gets a little treat each day. I can't believe Christmas is almost here. It's like, Trevor was saying the other day, he goes, it feels like it should be about July. This has been such a weird time warp kind of year. Oh, that would be cool, Linda, to post that on paper, up on Paper Doodles. You always do such a nice job with them. So then this just slips down, and I made it too big. Oops! Okay, well, I goofed that up. Well, that one slips down inside. I made this too big. I didn't score it the right size, because it should fit just inside of that. So I think I scored, yeah, I scored him like 1/8 of an inch too small. So I'll remake it. So if this needs to be smaller than 3 inches. So the dimensions on the version in the pattern I know are right. I was going from memory and I goofed. But it slips inside. So I'll just make a new box. Not a big deal. So anyway. So do we want to decorate the top, or we'll start decorating. We can do it, decorate on the top, and we can decorate on the side. We can start with the side, or we can start with the top. Let's start with the side. So let's set our lid aside for the moment. Now on the, let me get the other version out real quick first. And I can kind of talk through some of the papers on it. On the lid, I use my corrugated paper on the inside of the lid, and I use the dark wood on the outside. And on this one, I also did something just to, I cut the papers, the pattern papers, about 1/4 of an inch short and put some of the corrugated. And this corrugated is about 3/4 of an inch wide, a strip of the corrugated, because I wanted that to peek out. I'm probably going to do the same sort of thing on this one, but rather than corrugated, it's just going to be one of the actual regular papers. Maybe it's the stripe, maybe it's red. I have to look and see on that. But I use the snowflake here as the main paper, and I did the same sort of thing here on the side where I cut the paper 1/4 of an inch shorter than the width of the chipboard so that it would expose the edge, same at these corners, of that, excuse me, the corrugated paper. And then I used here at the base, the flat part, I used the corrugated much like I did up on the roof, and then I have the dark blue, the dark wood on the front, or on the base itself. Now on the front of the fascia at the top and the bottom, I use, this is the blue, what I call the blue wood, and it's also on the front of all of the pockets. Some cut here for the other pockets. So it's the blue wood. You just, here I made it to where the grain went across, and then on the pockets I made it vertical. And then these attach down on top of it with the numbers attached on top of that. But that just lets you know in terms of this version what papers I used where. Then on the little cabin, I used the white wood or light wood on the cabin itself. And then I did a layer of, and I didn't attach it down all the way down, so I curled up the edges of this. But I used a corrugated here with a little bit of the dark wood underneath at that 1/2 inch that's not, where it's not glued down. I just wanted to give it that little bit more of a curl. And then it's got the doors and windows on the sides. You could even just make the little cabin if you like the little cabin. That would be fun to do. So, I want to do the same sort of thing on this one. I have to put all the papers. All right, where is them? Up there. So I'm planning this white one here, and this one is going to be for the sides of the church and the roof of the church. So I'm going to set those two aside. So then I've got this neutral one, which could be my main part. Or I've got this neutral, and I was thinking probably more along the lines of this one, because this one I'm thinking this guy could be where I use the blue wood. So this will be where the snowflakes are. This will be where the blue wood, which is going to be on the face of all of the drawers. So I think that's what I'm going to do on that. So that'll be on the face of the drawers, I think. We're still determining. So if I want to do the same sort of thing where I have that little peak of something, I can do this kind of pale neutral green. It doesn't look green on camera, but it is. Whoops. Why do I not have a... Did I hit something? Did I stop? No, it's still on. Okay, my iPad just was stopped. So, okay. So I can have this pale green with the red at the edge, or I can do the pale green, and I think that's stripe. And you know me and my stripes. I think I want to do the stripe at the edge, and then the red can be down at the base is with the red. So the stripe, because it's got that kind of variegated green behind the stripes. So I think I want to do the stripe along the edge and the green. So then the red will be the base. So the red will be where the dark wood is. And I'm going to use this stripe where I put the corrugated on the edge. So let's trim a couple of these up. Does that make sense to everybody, what I'm doing? Well, that's why I walked through it on the one that was already done, Joy, so that those who need the visuals have that visual. Okay, so with my stripe, and I oriented it the way I did so that I have the longest length. So I'm going to cut some 3/4 inch strips. I'm going to cut 4 of them, so we'll just do one side for right now. Let's go ahead and ink that. Now I'm using a more neutral. I'm using my frayed burlap instead of my vintage photo because the neutral kind of goes well. Now these are 10 inches tall, and my main part is 10.5. So you can either splice it, or I'm going to put a strip around the base that will cover over. Where this doesn't match. So I'm going to, and I'll show you that as I'm attaching it down. Monica, you are a good friend. You just do what I say. I have you trained. She gets a star for today. Now on the other version, because I wanted it more rustic, I did a put a lot of texturing to the edges. With this one, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep this one a little bit cleaner. But see how there's a 1/2 inch at the bottom, but I'm going to put a strip along the bottom to cover over that. Yeah, don't second guess. As you've seen, even with me, when I second guess them, I'm usually wrong. Alright, so now we can measure how wide this is. And remember, we're going to be back 1/4 of an inch. So if this is 7 1/4, I'm actually going to cut my piece to 7 inches for this front. And it should work out to be good. No, it's too narrow for that. So. Then I need to trim up the other one so that I can cut my pieces for my others. Thanks, Lois, for joining us. Get some good rest. Okay, so then we'll measure for the depth. Cut 2 of those. Remember, 1/4 of an inch narrower. Or if you want to run it to the edge and not have the accent, that's totally fine. And then this other side, same size. Now I don't need to do the bottom edge because that's going to get covered over. Now when I distress the edges, I take my scissors and I just run them. You use a distressing tool, but I just run my scissors along that edge. And then I kind of roll it a bit with my fingers and crumple it and maybe tear and roll back. And I roll the corners and all that just to give it a more distressed feel. But as I said, I'm doing this one a little bit cleaner, so I'm not doing all that distressing because it also takes time. Should have set my camera up a little bit higher this time. I just feel like I'm down on top of y'all here with this today. Line up that top edge. So you can see that I like having that little bit of stripe or check. It's now a check showing. So then I can attach here to this. This is kind of a washed out red, so I hope that's okay with you, Joy. I'm still planning to do this bottom edge with the stripe because I like that idea. Where do I want to do the accent of the red? Maybe I'll do the red as the base rather than the stripe. Maybe I'll do the stripe as the accent along here and down here, but do the red on the edge here. I think that's what I'll do. So I'm going to trim this red out. And it has a crackle to it, so it kind of has a stone look to it, even though it's red. But it's like I said, it's a washed out kind of red. So, Joy, just for you. So my base is 1/2 inch, unless if you left it the 1 inch that I had in the pattern, I'll be making that correction. You need to make it the height of your base plus 1/2 inch. So mine's 1/2 inch, so I'm going to cut 1 inch strips. If you left your base the 1 inch that I unintentionally had in the pattern, not a problem. You're just going to cut 1.5 inch strips. That's the sum total of what difference that's going to make. I'm going to cut from this other end too, so I have some of that same black stuff on there. Because I'm not going to wrap all the way around today. I'm just going to get as much on as I need to to just get this one side done. So I think I'm going to put the seam, oops, you can't quite see, the seam right at the edge of this. Then I don't have to trim it. And it'll be just easy to wrap because otherwise I got to snip it to wrap it down. So if I do that, then that makes it nice and easy. Okay, so because when I wrap, I prefer to have the tape on there, I'm going to go ahead and put a tape along the top edge. The edge that's going to get wrapped. Okay, so then this goes about right in there. So I'll go ahead and put my glue on here. So as you can see, oops, right here, I ran it to the very edge over this outside edge. And then on this side, I'm going to snip it so that I can wrap. So this part, I lift it up, stick it down, and like this part, and roll and attach it down. So then this guy, I'm going to cut this in half, and then I can finish up the other one. But let's just mark there's about 5 inches. Now this one, because I'm going around the corner, I'm going to go ahead and put tape on the bottom. I probably should have done that with all of them. Wherever something where it's going to be under a little bit more stress, and I don't want to sit and wait for the glue to dry. So I'll keep an eye on this and make sure that it's not pulling. This probably is better for putting the stuff on where you're wrapping it, doing that with some tape. Butt those two up, and then we'll wrap it around the corner, aligning that bottom edge. Same thing over on this side. At the actual corner itself, I'm going to notch the corner out. And I'm also going to notch it at the edge of that. Notch in the corner. And again, apologize. On these 3D projects, I need to lift my camera up so that you can see better. But I'll hold it and show you what I did. Okay. So I've notched the corner out, and I've also slid it right there so that that can wrap. Same thing over then on this corner. Now on these ends here by the drawer thingies, I'm going to fold it over and kind of use my bone folder to kind of cram it down. I'm not going to attach it down yet because I want to have the other piece, that rest of this, but you can see how I've kind of creased it so that then when I stick it down, see how it kind of wraps around, because these are set in about 1/8 of an inch on each end. So I'll do the same thing down on this end. Just take and cram my bone folder down in there to crease it so it creases that little step. But again, I don't want to stick it down yet till I get the pieces that go around, and I don't want to take the time to be doing the whole thing so that we can get to more of the decoration portion of things. So alright, so that gives us our base. So then we want to put something that's on here. So I can either add more of the red on here, or I could do, actually what might be kind of too cool is pick up some of the, I like this idea, is picking up some of this that I'm using on the roof and do that on the base. So I think that's what I will do. This is for the church roof. I think I want that in for the church roof, so I'll trim up this end and use it. This is kind of got a metallic, but a little bit of dark brownish violet, which goes with the kind of violet colored poinsettias that are part of the paper. Alright, so depth wise, about 1/8 of an inch less. So that's going to go right there, so then I can set it on there and mark where I need to. So about 1/2 inch off. Yep. Still plenty for my roof. Put this one as a square. It's going to go down at that'll go down at that corner. And I should cut some of this, I think. I think I'll cut some of this to do the accent down at the bottom too. So I'll cut some. Let's glue this on first. So that gives it on my little corner in my front. So let's cut some 1/2 inch strips. I'm going to cut them 5/8 so that they're a little bit taller. Now this got all covered up by the wood rounder things on the other version, so I didn't need to do this on the other version, but I'm not going to have those wood rounder things on this one, so I need to cover over that little bit of blank zone. there. And that one there. So now we're ready to start embellishing on here. Now, when we will in a minute here, I will also get to where we do the drawers, and you'll cut a piece for the little fascia right here, and a piece for the fascia of the top as well, and that's going to be out of my gray, and then for each of the little drawer fronts, as I showed before. So that'll just, and the only place I put the paper is on the drawer fronts. I don't put it on the sides because it would make it, if you put it, they would be too snug fitting into the little drawer slots. So you're not going to want to. If they are a little cozy, one of the things you can take is a little clear or white candle, just like a little votive, or even just any kind of candle, and just rub it slightly on the side, and it'll kind of give it a polish, and it'll slide in and out. Even though it's chipboard, it'll slide in and out easier. All right, I've got all sorts of little goodies and such that I want to use on this. I have my hot glue. I've got my regular glue. But one of the things, these are so popular now, so they're easier to find, is I got some of these slices. Now these are slices from not necessarily a birch tree. These actually look like aspen. Let me smell the wood to see. But I got one of these to kind of be as maybe as like a base thing. I'll just dress it up a little. Gives it that rustic feel, but it's not quite as much as all the bunches of little discs. So if I place it, and this is where we're going to just audition and see what we may like. Let me see if I can just, so hang on, hopefully I don't mess everybody all up. Trying to get this camera just a little bit higher. Not much, but. So then I've got some white poinsettia, and I've got a large red poinsettia. Now I don't want to cover over the drawers, so but I've got, let's get this wire on it. So I'm going to pull this wire up a little bit. It's not super sharp. Oops. Well, oh, that just slipped out. I was going, that's not what I wanted to have happen. So I can pop this into a corner, but see, then you can still, let's see there. So that if it's not hanging over the drawers, so where I can still get the drawers out. Maybe this drops down just a hair. Now this white one, I'm going to take some spray and change the color out to make it a little bit more pink, since the colors in this, it's more of a pink rather than a red. They got red berries. So, but I may take one of these kind of pieces. Maybe I'll take this candle. This will sit in there. So let's go ahead and cut these out. I'm going to cut them out kind of like when you get die cuts from, you know, like Bo Bunny or one of those. And so I'm just going to cut it where it's got, I'm not trying to cut on the line. I'm cutting about a 1/16 of an inch away from where it prints, and don't get super detailed. If you think of the die cuts that you buy, it has that white edge around it, so this can be the same. Even with your serrated scissors. So let me see if I turn them around, if it doesn't make the noise. It's still serrated. Yeah, if you can have it to where his name is towards you, Then the serrated blade is the back one, and it's not as noisy. But it still feels exactly the same. But if you like that serrated noise, keep the name away from you. But it feels exactly the same. So I cut it out. It looks just like a die cut that I would get in a pack. I'm just not cutting them out for you. So maybe that goes right there. Let's see what other goodies that I have. I didn't test this out too much. I figured I'd do it before you guys do. I've got this cute little, sprig. Joann's and such had everything on sale. I got some other kind of more purpley red flowers, some pine stuff. I went digging in my studio. I found this big old bush, but it's got these little white berry-like things on it. They're very similar to what's on the. They had these little guys on it, and I was missing a couple. These little whitish green little berry things. Oh, those look cool. I'll grab a couple of those. Okay, I got some of these other snowflakes. This might be kind of fun to put on there. I get some of the smaller ones too. There's some smaller snowflakes. But this is just how I do it. It's like just audition pieces. See what I like. These are all glittery. Little strings on them, so I'll pop those off. So then let's take this guy, cut him apart. So this is the wired on it. So I like to keep like the wires on here and just twist them up. Twisting those because they can add some interest. Most of the time when these little sprigs, you don't have to cut them apart. You can pop these puppies off. I have to twist them a little bit. As soon as I say that, it doesn't want to. But the little plastic part comes off of there. But if all else fails, snipperoo. So you have the pieces in parts. It's always handy to have some wire cutters, because these many times have wires in them. Don't use your tin scissors on this kind of wire because that will dull them down. Now these are a little bit big, so I probably won't use those. It's also giving me a little stick. And another little sprig, which looks kind of mistletoe. So it gives me some stuff to play with. And since this paper collection has pine cones in it, it seemed kind of appropriate. Now, I may decide that it's on camera a little bit more without showing you my entire lap. I may decide he's too big, and maybe I just want to have the white one, but I want to spray him and get him dry before we get too much further. So I'm just going to grab a spray. Now, I'm not going to use a distress spray because it's a little bit more opaque. So I want to use this is a Lindy's one. This is Moon Shadow Mist. I'm just going to be brave and just that kind of gives me some dark tones. Kind of a dark mauvey color, but then I want some brighter pinkish tone. Okay, and this one is Hottie Patati Hot Pink. Hope this isn't too pink. Oh, perfect. Because one thing I did find is right now is pink poinsettias are not the color that I can find right now. I had a hard time finding even white ones, and white's really popular for decor this this season, so that was kind of strange. Either that or everybody's used them. Oh wait, before I keep competing, take my board out from underneath. So if I wanted these, say, blue or some other color, you totally can do that by just putting the sprays on them. So this is made by putting the brownier pink first and then the hot pink. It just made a nice soft, exactly the pink shade, and that was just by total guess and golly that I came up with that. So. Well, if I want to put a little bit of greenish toward the center, let's see, where's the green? There's a good green. This one isn't a spray one, but I can take my green with the paintbrush and just add a little green at the center. Or as Joy talked about, they have so many times. They have a little bit of green on the edge. So you can just add that in. Didn't know you were going to be painting poinsettias today, did you? Oh, I just set that down in the pink. I want to blend that edge because I didn't want that doing that stripe of a line, so just using a little water, blend that edge. And be careful when you're setting things down on your desk that has splops. So it just made that end a little pinker, which is actually kind of cool. Big thing is, because we have plastic in here, is make sure you keep moving your heat gun. So then in this red, because I do think I want to use it, but I want to tone it down to where it's not so, hello, I am red. Because I want to use that same color that I just used. When was it? Bucket of Blood Red. That sounds just perfect, doesn't it? What did I just use? Where'd it go? Of course, as soon as I did this, it all fell over. Okay, well, we'll go with this because I like having that little bit of variegated coloring to it. This also adds some sparkle to this one. Kind of darkens it up a little in the center. Let's see what other. This one's more of a coppery tone, but it'll still darken it up a little bit. And this is Jolly Roger red. Boy, I went for the kind of piratey colors. And I have a sprayed red hand. Anyway, that kind of got some sparkle to it. Also darkened it up a little bit. Ah, what am I getting? Looks like something was poking me. It added some shimmery sparkle, which is, there you can see the sparkle. Adds sparkle to it and also tones it down a bit. And then if I want to kind of scrunch it up to make it a little bit tighter, I can glue it to where it's a little bit tighter and not such a big, huge poinsettia. But this is going to give it much more of a traditional look and less of the very rustic look of what I did with the other. But I can still then use some of the same sort of sprigs if I choose to. For instance, this is one of the sprigs that I used on the other version. Tie it up and stuff. This guy, and you can bend them a little bit and stuff like that. So I had originally had this guy on there for the other version, and I bent it a little bit. Oh, the wind's picking up. So if I lose you, I didn't do it intentionally. You just don't want to go across too high up this top edge. So I can have that on there if I decide that I want that on there. Audition everybody in there. So this wood thing doesn't necessarily going to show. Maybe I have some little bits and pieces showing, but I don't have to have a lot showing, just so that way but it gives me some depth pieces. This goes up here, and it tucks out from behind. Kind of audition everybody. Or maybe I end up not wanting the lantern in there. Or this guy might be too big. I might save him for the top. Maybe have that little twig in there. Yeah, see, that's kind of coming together. I like these guys too. Having them coming out from underneath. So I actually like how that looks. It's like, okay, well, we hook this stuff down. We may take and roll that so that he kind of gets glued under there, so he's not sticking out so much. I also kind of roll maybe these guys here at the bottom and stick them down so that they're not going so far down into the base. Or maybe I just flip it up so it's a little higher. But right now, it's still a little wet, so I'm going to dry him a little bit. And then try to get this stuff all glued down. And then again, still have time to do a little bit on the top. But just play with it. The biggest thing is just take what you have and play with it. See what works. Yeah, by toning down the white doesn't jump out as much. By making it more pink, it definitely kind of changed the look of it. It's a little drier now. And I'm also going to put some glue underneath in here and kind of pull this all up together to make it tighter. So, wish me luck that I don't burn my fingers off completely. Okay, ouch, ouch, ouch. Yeah, kind of toasted some fingers. But I have cast iron fingers, as people who've been around for a while are aware. I've had it that way for quite some time. Pull the glue off. I just was trying to be quick, so I did it all at once, whereas probably if I were here by myself, I would do that in a couple of steps rather than all at once. But that just tightened that up quite a bit. Toasted fingers. Oh, this one needs to be in tighter. So that shrunk him up quite a bit. Okay, come on, dry. Glue. And you could use something else to push those pieces down if you don't have cast iron fingers like mine. It's not sticking the greatest because it's still a little bit damp. Come on, stay. I need to come undone, so I'm gonna be sneaky. It's all just gathered all together here on the back. You don't want to cooperate? I just grab some ribbon. Maybe I'll make the ribbon so it sticks out. This is kind of a good color. And then I can play with it. When you don't want to cooperate, I'll make you cooperate. So there, that's much better. Easier on the fingers too. That, I can put that off, so that's not in the way. I always trim this off then too. Okay. So once you kind of have it, it's like, okay, I kind of like how that's working out. That's looking good. So then I'm going to very gently set all this other stuff out of the way so it's not in the way. And I'm going to very gently take everything off. Now, the one thing you might want to do is so that you remember how it looked is take a picture that, oh, it's like, okay, that's how I had it. So now you can just kind of layer by layer. Those guys are going to go down at the bottom. These are over on one side, so I'll keep those all together, and this was with them. These guys were down along the bottom, so we'll set them off to the side and get everything kind of... Only on one of my projects would you have both dirt and glitter. So this guy was kind of right around in there. And I need to grab glue stick, more glue sticks before I reach the end of those. Now, on something like this, I have no problems using glue sticks because this has a lot of texture and it will grab. It's when you're using glue sticks for like pages, when you get two relatively smooth surfaces. You can also, if you have the time, obviously I would glue this with regular glue. But I'm going to just go with this for right now. Yeah, like this guy doesn't have to go down just yet. Nor does that one. So next up, we're going to take this little branch. I'm going to finish curling this so it's not pointy. You want to spread it out a little bit too. It will get you glittery all over everywhere. Wish this wasn't so tight close, but I will post pictures of it. So I don't want it going above that, so I'm going to go up just a little bit. So now I can pop in some glue where I need it. Most of these places are going to get covered over, so don't be afraid to be a little bit messy with it. Okay, so we got that sporty guy on there. Ah, see, the pine cone can now fit down in the corner back behind him. So I'm going to put the pine cone down in this corner. Pop the little pine cone down in there. And that gives kind of something to tuck him in back behind a little bit. He's also then not quite so much in front of the drawers. Okay, I don't necessarily want this ribbon on here, so I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. So you just kind of play with it till you like how it looks. There he looks down there, but I like having that little pine cone back behind there. And let's put this little girl. I don't know why the red one was a he and the pink one becomes a she in terms of the poinsettias. Yeah, don't be afraid to get messy. That's definitely true. Totally true there. Christine, thank you. I cut the little hanging knobbly off of there because I wanted that kind of sticking up in the air. So I'm only going to glue it right. I'm going to put plenty on there because I want it to really stick up. You can always put something underneath there to help hold that up too if you decide to, you want to. Okay, and because my pine cone is already glued down right there, I'm just going to cut a little notch out of my little die cut so it fits around that. So, because I wanted some of the edge of this showing. Come a little bit higher. So then the candle's going to go right there. Now I'm going to stick this guy down with some foam dots so he has a little depth up above. Got blue strings hanging off of me. That way he has, or it has, I don't know why I'm giving everything gender today, but gives it some little depth in it. You get that little shadow line there. So it's always nice to have that little extra depth. There's that. Okay, so let's get some more bits and pieces of my phone out of the way. Let's see. Let's see. Do I have this one? Actually, I think I want him a little bit shorter, and he's going to tuck back behind. Trim him off. It kind of comes out from there, like so. There's a little stick coming out from behind there, and then kind of the purpley flowers. Kind of covers over that a bit. Just cut pieces and parts off to get them tucked back in there the way you need them to be. That looks back behind there. That little green sprig there. There, I'm liking how that's looking. Maybe that one goes back behind there, so it gets some depth back behind. Like a little snowflake goes behind the big snowflake. Do him back behind there. I forgot he goes in first. Yeah, I think the drawers in the top are going to need another class. I will try tomorrow, but no guarantees, since tomorrow is my anniversary, but since we can't go out for dinner or anything, maybe we'll do it in the morning. Because I do want to get this done, since you need to be using the first little drawer by Tuesday. But yeah, because we're out of time. So, but anyway, this is not nearly as washed. This guy stands out a lot more than he looks like on the camera. It's because my light is right there. I can change my light color. Oops. Maybe a little bit warmer light. I'm just changing my color of my light. I don't know if that really helped at all. But see, that gives us some little sprigs and sticks, some snowflakes. I will also put in a shot from more distance. Over here on this side, I have some stuff over here. Oh, I forgot to put these guys in. You just don't want to get too much in the way so that your drawers are easy to get in and out. I mean, as long as something is somewhat movable, you're only pulling each drawer out, you know, putting it back for one time. And I stuck my finger right into the hot glue. Oh, that felt just peachy. And my cast iron fingertips. Then I can put some more of them over on this side. There's that guy. Where these are going to go. Yeah, that works. Okay, so this guy's going to go in the back. Oops. anywhere I didn't necessarily want it. I also recommend, if you haven't done this very much, is try it on, step back, look at it, walk away, come back, look at it, see if there's anything you want to change. A little bit more of a reddish color up here. So probably one of those little flowers down in there. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. Yeah, I think we are going to need another class so that I can do the little church and the top. So then if you have all sorts of hot glue strings around, you can just run your heat gun over the top and it melts a lot of those. But I'm pleased with this. So you'll be able to see it better when I take a front-on photo of it. But I like the pinker one of these because that kind of goes color-wise with what's going on in the paper collection. So fun. So I can get all my drawers made by tomorrow. I'll get the drawers made and we'll do a drawer face and we'll work on getting the top. Now, one of the things, just to keep you moving, on the top, what you can do is go ahead and cover this, and I'm going to use the red like I used on the base. So I'm going to do the red, so I'm going to cut it. So this is 3/4 of an inch, and this is about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to cut 1 1/4 strips, and I'm going to wrap it. So I'm going to wrap it all the way around, and then notch it at the corners and wrap that around. And then I'm going to do a paper here on the top. I may look and see if since we didn't get to this, I may get some, I have a white glittery paper somewhere, I think. I may put some white glittery paper down on the top here rather than using one of them that I have. Just so it looks kind of like a snow type thing. So then we can put our little church on there and some trees and shrubbery for our little church. So. But yeah, I think we need that. Thank you, Joy, for suggesting that. I think we need that third class, and I will try to do that tomorrow. I'm thinking 10 is too early. I'm not up that early anymore with everybody here, and my husband doesn't get up till about 9 since he doesn't have to commute. Maybe we'll do it like around 2-ish, 2 to 4. Because then if my husband and I are going to go get takeout and go someplace and eat it since we can't go out to dinner. Check my schedule. I'll figure it all out. But we'll try to do that. So, does that sound okay to everybody? So yeah, so we'll get this covered. And I also, for expedience sake, I'm going to go ahead and I will try to cover over the little church as well. So the white paper here, the paper that I used on the bottom there, that darker one, this is going to be the one on the roof. And I'll do it on the same on the roof here, and it's white on here. So I'll get it all papered. So then we may be able to get it done do it in just like an hour's class or so tomorrow. So get that on. Maybe put the house parts on. So then all we're doing is embellishing this. I will get all of my drawers made and I will put the paper on the front so that then we can see some ideas. And I'm going to be using the little, my microphone here, the little Tim Holtz numbers, and they're just going to tie onto the front of these. So there's going to be tied with a little ribbon. So I'll get these all ready to go and show you them on that. So we may be able to just do it maybe at 2 o'clock. Maybe we do it from 2 to 3, 3:30 at the most. And so that way I can get this embellished, because I think we need about an hour to do all that if I can get this papered and stuff beforehand. Now when I paper this roof, I'm going to do it like I did this one, to where, because, oh, and I forgot to do that on here. So I'm going to leave this one straight. But I scored it on this one so that this curved up, and then I put this corrugated and I kind of rolled that. So that last ½ inch is not attached so that I can get a swoopy thing. I'm going to do the same thing with this, as I'll swoop the paper and then I can cover it over underneath with a, an accent paper as well. Now with this one, I used some modeling paste on here so that it's frosty like snow. We'll decide whether we want to do that on. I think I want to keep this one to be a little bit cleaner look on this one, so we may not do that. But we can add some greenery stuff into it, and we'll also put our little trees up as well. So we can also do him centered with a tree on each side. We might do that rather than the angled one with a large tree group, because I've got these little Christmas tree guys right here. So I found these at Target. These little brush trees. You can even use the Tim Holtz ones and spray them in the color you want them to be. But I found these guys at Target. You can even put little lights on them if you wanted to. Oh, see, I think that would be cute. Let's see if I can lay this down. It gives you the effect anyway. By having him in the center, and then you just turn the tree when you turn it around if you have it against the wall like I am. And then we can put a tree. Oh, I like that. We're going to put this church in the middle with a tree on each side and some more of the little greenery around it. But I think that will look super cute. That on the front is, Christina's asking if this is a hot glue drop. My husband called it a Q-tip. Thank you, sweet Richard. But no, it was in these little styrofoam snowball things. And there's some in here that are kind of like glommed together. And there was one in here that it looked like it was a drip. So I put them on there. So, oh, see, now I just broke them off. So now I got to re-glue them back on because I broke them off. That was not my finest thing to do. Where's my glue? Where'd you go? There you are. Hiding. But yeah, no, I think that'll put the church in the middle with a tree on each side since I have 2 trees. Well, I didn't buy it for the drop. I just happened to find the drop in there and decided to use it. Let me just hold it there while it dries for a second. But you could totally do one out of hot glue. And then just paint it white. Put some little fluffy fluff on it. Or you could go to Hobby Lobby and find the bag of little foam balls and find one that's got a dripping blob in it. So, anyhow, so a couple trees and we'll be good to go. Let me switch cameras real quick. I want to get this to where I can pull this up a little. Let's not stab ourselves with the craft knife. That would be no blood allowed. Remember? Just hang on. This gets stuck, and it unplugs on me. There we go. Oops, one more. There we go. So now I can hold this up and you can see it head on a little bit better. Maybe not such dead light. I get to light this just so you can see it. So there, so you can see how you can just do it. It's much more, lot less rustic. The light's just too bright. I'll post some pictures on it of it as well so that you can see. But giving it just, you know, more of a traditional, but still rustic, but not quite as super rustic as say this one is. And so, and by doing something a little bit different on the doors, it's gonna not look quite as rustic. So I'm happy. This is something that my mom, it will go really well for my mom, and it'll give something a little bit more fun. You know, she's been kind of cooped up for all these months. So give her something each day to where she can get her little treat out of her drawer. So I'm gonna have to go find some drawers, and I'll take that over to her on Tuesday. So anyway. Alrighty. Well, this was fun again. I'm sorry I didn't move quite as fast as I was hoping I would, but that's a lot to do as fast as that was. So, if you don't get it done by Tuesday, you can always have 2 treats on Wednesday. It's kind of my theory to catch up. So, excuse me. But again, the tutorial is with all the instructions and dimensions is over on the website, as is the paper for the rustic version and the paper for the frosty Christmas version. For just the tower at this point, and then I'll be working on getting the papers for the album when we're ready to do the album. But we're getting this one done, and then we'll get started on the album. So that can go inside, because I figure you don't really have to have the album done until like Christmas, because then you can put pictures in it from Christmas. So alrighty, guys. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, I mean, time is just starting to snap, go fast. I can feel it over the course of this weekend. It's just like this weekend just went by like insanely quick. So, alrighty. Thank you, as always, to Joy for being my right hand and helping me out so much. I appreciate that. Also, Pam's been helping out with some of the admin duties. And Lois, I know you left already, but thank you to you as well. I wouldn't be able to do all this without you. And if you get one of these done, or any project you do of mine, please post it on Paper Doodles. That's one of the things I love on some of the other, like I belong to Seth After Site, and so many people post so many things over there. And that's the one thing I wish people did more of on Paper Doodles, is they post what they've done. Even if it's from a kit, that's fine. But it's fun seeing what people do. So if you're working on a project that's one of mine, please post it. I would love, love, love to see it. So, yeah, I miss seeing because we've had a crew that just, I don't know, is it people are just concerned about not wanting to show what they've done. But we all love seeing it. So please, please post over on Paper Doodles. I would just love to see it. So anyway, everybody have an awesome week this week. If you're not able to join us tomorrow, if not tomorrow, Tuesday for sure, I will slip in this extra extra class. Oh, all right, Monica, please post pictures of it. She got the hidden cabinet done from St. Louis retreat, which was quite a while ago, but it doesn't matter. Not everybody's super fast, myself included. Hello. So I'm as guilty as anybody. So don't be afraid, Alexa. I guarantee you, this is the most incredibly supportive group, no matter what you've done. Give yourself some pats on the back. You know, if you've completed a project, you know, my projects, I work really hard to make them doable, but they're not super simple. So if you get one done, you need some accolades for doing that. So please put it up. So, has it really been that long, Monica? Don't tell me that. So it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but I guess it has. Anyway, alrighty guys, so everybody have an amazing week this week. We'll be finishing this up. Whether or not we are next Friday or next Sunday, I haven't determined yet. It depends on when I get this stuff done. I had hoped to have the album started this weekend, and that didn't happen. So, and I don't want to start posting or doing a project until I have it ready to go. So keep your eyes on the schedule to see. And the video for this will get posted both on the calendar. I still need to make a page in the archives, but it will be available on YouTube as well as in the calendar. And anyway, thank you all so much for joining me. Without all of you, I don't know that I would have made it through the last 2 years. Even though I wasn't out in front of you as much as I used to be, you were all totally in my mind, and many of you reached out to me, and that meant a lot. So I appreciate it. It feels good to feel much more like myself than I have in a very, very long time. So, and I appreciate all of you so much for your patience while I kind of get myself all figured back out again. So anyway, I'm going to let you guys all go, and we will see you tomorrow or Tuesday at the latest. So peace out. Bye for now. Love you bunches.